Welcome back. Now starting the lunch. It's just about 10 minutes to 11. Got the app started. Got me something to drink to keep me hydrated during the day. It's usually Gatorade. Let me get started here. And this morning was a little slow. I've had some mornings, or better. It's a hit or a miss, depending, a lot of factors, during the day. Also what dashers are in the area, because from what I understand, if there's a dasher with a higher, more veteran dasher in the area, and they'll get more considered with the job first before I get it. So now I'm going to an area that I usually start off in park. It's near the Chick-fil-A, Zaxby's, and Buffalo Wild Wings. Those areas tend to, if they do get an order, they tend to be higher paying. But I do follow the strategy. If I'm sitting there, I'm also near a Wingstop, which is right next to that Starbucks, and they don't open till 10:30. I've gotten a lot of Wingstop orders. But if things don't get off to a good start, then I'll go over and drive over to McDonald's to see if I can pick up business there. But yeah, this is just the strategy. This is my bigger day. My morning I only do 2 hours, just a little over 2 hours. But this one I do a 4 hour plus. But then I ended at 3 p.m. I tend to find that driving, sitting around and walking around, it is tiring for me. Being a little older. I do climb a lot of stairs, especially when we go to an apartment complex. And I've been to other places where I have to walk a little bit further on the driveway or something like that. But yeah, hopefully we'll pick up an order here real soon. I know this may look boring or something like that, but it's something. It's kind of anticipation. You don't know what's going to come or what's going to happen. What you're going to get. But like I said, every order is different. Every delivery is different. There's some excitement in that. I think of this as a game that I'm playing, and the money I make is the score. So I'm sitting here doing different strategies, or trying to do some different strategies, trying to get a higher score every day. But right now the weather's nice. Hopefully, get a lot of orders. Also depends on, I think also from the pattern, some days are a little bit more busier than others. This is a Monday. I seem to see more orders during the week than, see a lot of orders. When I worked on Friday, I got a lot of orders, people. But that's, I seem to be a little less on the Mondays. But, there are always exceptions to the rules. So what I'm doing is I'm parking in an area which is near Walmart for us, but next to the Walmart is a whole strip of, got Wendy's, Arby's, got a Freddy's, a custard place. Got a Cracker Barrel, Buffalo Wild Wings, Zaxby's, all in this area. So I kind of park in the middle of that area, kind of get myself strategized, in a location where if I happen to be in the area, hopefully I get the higher priority for the pickup. But like I said, after a while, things don't pick up. I also got an Arby's, but I think I picked up an Arby's order one time. Not that many picked up a lot of Wendy's orders because the Wendy's here that we had only had the drive-thru open because they were redoing the lobby. And now since they opened the lobby, I've been picking up a lot of Wendy's orders. So actually, what I'm doing, I'm in a parking lot of a buffet restaurant. Of course, the buffet doesn't do DoorDash, but it's kind of centrally located. And when you drive around, you find some spots that you tend to go through. The reason I like this spot because it's the middle of the day. They have one spot in their parking lot with a big tree, so I like to sit under in the shade to kind of cool down. So anyway, we're going to park here for a little bit, and I will come back when I get an order. All right? Thanks. Well, I got an order for Zaxby's for $11.06 for his 13 miles. So I'm going to take it. First order of the day, kind of get things going. Get started here, and then Zaxby's, like I said, I'm in the area. Zaxby's just right over there. I'm sitting here and got the turn off the engine, but go over there real quick. Like I said, it's, you kind of get to feel what orders you want to take or not. But it's over a $10 order. And it's only
drive northeast, then
just slightly more, just under my $1 a mile threshold. It's borderline. Now, for example, if it was like $5 order but 10 miles, no, I'm not taking that. Other things going on. I've seen some that were borderline, and I decided, depending on how busy I was or something like that, if I'm not busy and an order comes, yeah, I'll take it. But yeah, just a short drive from where I was parked, and we are here at Zaxby's. That's another thing, when you DoorDash, you come in, you tend to see the same people who are working at the restaurants. You pick, be nice, courteous, and have a little camaraderie. Ask them how their day's going and something like that, and then they remember you, and they become more helpful in what you're doing, or they help get your order processed first or faster and stuff like that. So, okay, we are here at Zaxby, so I'll be right back. Okay, I just picked up the Zaxby order. What I liked about this order was it was already ready. They have a little area where you pick up DoorDash orders, and it was already packed and ready to go. So I am now texting the customer that I have their order. As I explained, you always try and remember to have good communication with the customer. That ups your chances to get a tip. And then now I'm going to hit the directions and tell me which way to go. So yeah, I'm going to go on the interstate. So let's get the show on the road. That was actually pretty quick. I didn't have to. I said about two minutes. Sitting there and got my first order. So hopefully that's a good sign. Like I said, it's a beautiful day. It's going to be warm. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how it's going to work when it actually gets a little colder. But we'll deal with it. But of course, I started 6 weeks in the heart of the summer month, and there was one day. I mean, it was brutal, and it was hot, and then wasn't getting many orders. And I'm sitting there, of course, I'm powered down. I did try to, run my car, run the air conditioner while I'm still, sitting there, but it ate up too much gas. That's the other thing. Funny thing, when I started doing DoorDashing, I still had that Mustang, but I didn't drive. But I have a 2016 Ford Tundra, Toyota Tundra truck. So I started dashing a few days after that, and then after gassed up $80. Most of my money in gas is in that. Not doing that. So I told my wife, so I think make the decision. She agreed with me. I sold my Mustang. It was a beautiful car, 2014, red with white stripes on the side. I added some accessories to it. Kept it nice. It was kept in the garage. It was beautiful. And people I hired some people that specialize in selling used cars, and they took that and they cleaned it up nicely, and it was great. It was even made me more painful selling it, seeing how well it was cleaned up. And but I said, when I hardly ever drive, the reason I had the Mustang because I was going to drive it to work, but I was working from home most of the time. So I sold it and went and got this car. Did some research. This is not only my car that I use for DoorDashing, but it's my everyday driver. And my wife and I, we go everywhere in this car now, since it's the newer car and she likes it. This is a 2024 Toyota RAV4. Now my wife has a RAV4, but it's a little older, and she's on her second RAV4. But this is a hybrid. And the reason I was researching cars for DoorDashing, some of the cars I recommended was a Prius, used. And I said, oh, that's interesting. But I looked at the Prius. Prius gets 50 miles to the gallon, and I said, but I looked at I decided to look for something like this RAV4 is because it's it's bigger. It's a hybrid, but it only gets 40 miles a gallon, only. My wife's RAV4 only gets 29. But I've been consistently getting close to 40 miles to the gallon. But this is their low-end model. I've got this from CarMax. Low end is nothing powered. The driver's seat is powered, but there's no the hatch doesn't. It's not powered. It's manual lift. Of course, it's got power windows, but the passenger side seat is not powered. You have to pick up a lever to make the adjustments. But it suits my purpose. But this is it's a white car. I always loved white cars. Plus, it's a little more neutral, and it matched any kind of scheme that I want to do. Especially if I want to put magnetic signs like I did. But it's also all-wheel drive. And it has, there have been a couple times, especially like I told you, I delivered to rural areas. And some of those houses, they don't have a paved driveway. They have gravel at best. There have been a couple where it was nothing but ruts. And so I had to go into all-wheel drive mode and drive slowly and go through here. Plus, this RAV4 has a higher ground clearance than the previous RAV4s. So, my wife knows when she gets in the car, she has to step in the car a little higher. But that's one of the reasons why, I was looking for a hybrid. So I settled, I'm financing this car. Eventually, we'll pay it off quickly. But as soon as we pay off those other bills that I mentioned in the previous videos. But the money I make here, I make enough in a month to make a payment and still have, enough money for other stuff that I want to pay for. So there's not a burden on our retirement money that will come in, salary. But doing research, I saw the Prius. But the thing is, the Prius, it's a small car. It's small. And if I'm going to do this, I'm a little bit more comfortable. But another reason why I picked the RAV4, if I decide to go, for example, do another gig type environment, like Amazon Flex. Now, I did sign up for Amazon Flex for deliveries, but there's a waiting list. I'm on a list. So if you have a bigger car, you can carry more stuff. So when we went to CarMax, this was the only hybrid they had, the other DoorDashers I've seen, they're all driving, you know, high mileage cars, you know, Camrys, Civics, that type of thing. In fact, I saw one YouTube person driving a Tesla, and him and his wife have Teslas, but he had a regular job, and he was doing it as a side job, food delivery, DoorDash and a Tesla. In fact, I thought about a Tesla. I have a cousin in Germany. Him and his wife, they're big Tesla fans. They have 3 Teslas. In fact, they came to visit us recently. They have a house in Canada, Nova Scotia, and they had just bought a Cybertruck, but they keep the Cybertruck in Canada, and they live in Germany. So every time they visit, they would rent a Tesla truck. But this time they bought the Cybertruck, and they came to visit for a couple days because they did a tour of the United States to visit all places. I got to drive that Cybertruck. That's a big vehicle. Slightly bigger than my Tundra, but it has the same bed size, 8-foot bed size. And what's also unique here where we live, they just built a brand new Tesla supercharger station right by that Walmart that we're right nearby. And so I got to drive it. That's unique. It's like other Tesla cars. Other Teslas, you know, it's a normal car. Your steering wheel is hooked up to a drive shaft, you know, and, steering shaft, steering column, and it's all mechanical. The Cybertruck doesn't have all that. It's fly-by, what they call fly-by-wire, like jet airplanes, like Airbus. You know, there's wire control. There's no hydraulics. It's all by wire, and the steering wheel even looks like an airplane control. It looks like a yoke. It's not a full circle like this, just 2 handles like this. And you only have to turn it this far and this far. That's all you get. And it has what they call quad steering. So if you're turning to the right, you know, the front wheels turn this way, but the back wheels turn the opposite direction. So all 4 wheels, so you have a tighter turn circle. So that was amazing. Now, like I said, I got to drive. It also has reactive braking. So as soon as you let off the gas, it starts applying the brakes. And part of it, similar to this RAV4, anytime you slow down and put on brakes, it recharges and uses that motion to recharge the batteries. So there is a battery in this hybrid, and it uses the battery going back. You know, when I go backwards. In fact, if you hear me backing up, you hear this funny sound. The reason is that's a speaker that makes the noise. Since I'm in full electric mode, by law, they got to make some noise, and the reason being because in the early days, electric cars were not making noise, and people didn't hear the car, and they were walking in front of electric cars. So yeah, that was neat. In fact, my wife says this kind of sounds like a UFO. You know? But if I'm in low speed or going backwards, you'll hear the speaker, and it sounds like a UFO going off. But yeah, drove that Cybertruck. But getting back to, you know, buying the car, you know, later on, you know, Tesla's about the only model that I would have considered was the Model Y, because that's the hatchback version that, you know, the back seats fold down for carrying. And, you know, of all the electric cars that I was researching, the Tesla Y has a 300-mile range. So I only do at most 120 miles a day, so that'd be within I wouldn't have to charge during the day, because you park your Tesla home, you have a home charger, and it charges up during the night. So I thought about that, but you know, I decided to stick with a hybrid RAV4. So I haven't regretted that decision yet so far. Alright, so we got quite a few more to go, so I'll get back with you as soon as I'm finished with the delivery. Okay, just made that delivery. Again, I've been to this house many times before. little further out, so lucky that I knew where to go, because when I first come out here it was a little tough because the app didn't quite have the location quite right, but I recognized the when you start recognizing names and addresses, and you say, oh, okay, I know that, I've been there before. So I've never met the person. I think it's a woman, and I think she may live by herself, but I could be wrong. But a little bit further out, but I know this area that instead of going back the way I came, I'm close to the same road that will eventually take me and loop me back to where to our town, and go through the gauntlet of hotspot. So that's the way I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go back down. So I'm basically making one big circle. So coming back. So it's 10 miles going back, but I'm going from completing the circle, and then I'll be going through the whole range of hot spots in that long stretch of road that has all the restaurants. So you can go this way. So hopefully not. And when I've done this a couple times, I've actually picked up. There's one or two mom and pop shops. In fact, there was a local Mexican restaurant that does DoorDash, and I've actually picked up an order from there one time. When I went there, their food, it smelled really good. So I made that comment. So to them, they appreciated that. So like I said, when you start doing this DoorDash and you start recognizing areas, and you start, I'm near where this area, so I'm making a shortcut back to not really shortcut, but a different route instead of going back the way I came. Now, certain routes, if I get on the interstate and I'm heading back, I'm coming back via the interstate. But things going to happen next week. We got a notice from highway department. When I go to the next town, I have to cross a bridge that's over a river. And a few times the past couple weeks, they've been doing work on it, and they've been blocking one lane. And as a result, since it's a interstate, it backs up traffic for miles. So when I notice, and when I go out there, I have a couple alternate routes to come back. It's a little slower, but it's a heck of a lot faster than waiting, trying to bumper to bumper traffic coming back on the interstate. But they said they're going to have a lane closed, the lane that they've been working on, because I think it's an older bridge, and they have had this metal plate on this part of the bridge. I think that's where there's a concrete or something that faltered, and something, a metal plate to cover it. They're trying to, I assume, make it a permanent repair. That lane will be out of commission for a week. So I'm going ahead. They said, for all the businesses in the area and all that, make appropriate adjustments. So when I see that, so okay, if I ever make delivery out there, I need to make sure to compensate for that. But a lot of times when I do go out that far, sometimes I pick up an order just around that area, and sometimes one time I stayed out there in that other town for 3 or 4 orders. Just worked around that, so that works too. But yeah, so I'm working my way back, making a complete circle. But yeah, like I was mentioned before during the end, I'm driving a Toyota RAV4 Hybrid, and I researched all this stuff, but I've seen lots of people drive, but I have not really an issue and all that, because people they do DoorDash, and they have no control what vehicle they have or what condition they're in. But if you have the means when you DoorDash, especially, and trying to pick the right vehicle, and also have it be in good condition. There have been a couple DoorDash around. I mean, they're just driving up a beat. I mean, there's all the doors are dented in. I mean, it's just a running wreck. Okay, me, that just gives you a bad impression, especially if you hand deliver. You know, people look and say, "Oh my God," you know. That's just me personally. You know, if that's the only vehicle you have, the only thing you can afford, you know, all power to you. You know, you do what you got to do. But you know, if you're door dashing, if you have the means, you know, either, you know, fix up the car, or, you know, save up enough money for door dashing to get you a decent, you know, cheap, you know, high MPG car, and keep it clean. You know, if you're running around a lot, I've seen a lot of guys. I mean, they've been, you know, one guy was in a Jeep, and he must have been mudding or something. It was covered in mud, but he was driving around door dashing. I said, "Oh my gosh," you know. This car, you know, I try to keep it clean. I keep wash the outside, especially, you know, because I got magnets signs on the side. I need to make sure I keep it clean because I don't want to, you know, scratch up the paint for any dirt and all that. So I try to wipe out the area every time I remove the sign. You know, I wipe it down, you know, to remove any crumbling dirt on the edges. But, you know, trying to, like I said, think you want to give a great impression to your customers, to people you're delivering to, especially if the you know, you meet them, you know, or hand to the customer delivery. And people also will look, you know, even though you don't, you know, a lot of times just leave at the door, people are looking at you from outside their window. You know, it's just whatever you can do to, you know, have a chance to, you know, give good impressions. And also, it's to me, it's a pride thing, you know, to keep it up. But, you know, it says if the, you know, running wreck is the only vehicle you have, you know, that's what you have to do. But I'm just saying, if you have the means or capability, you know, find a vehicle that is in mechanically good shape, but body wise, you know, is not have multiple dents everywhere, you know, and keep it clean, and consider, you know, buying you some magnetic signs, put on the side of the door. Makes you look, you know, somewhat a little bit more professional. You know, that is, you're giving some thought into this. So that's what I'm doing. I'm constantly, like I said, think about this as a business, not just a job, you know. Yeah, but it's the attitude that you get back what you put in. Since I've been doing this and all that, and being more professional, my number of tips have increased. You know, now granted, you know, I don't get it, you know, a tip every delivery, but, you know, on average, about one every 15 to 20 deliveries, I get a tip. You know, now if I didn't, if I just showed up, you know, like that gentleman that I talked about, the Jeep and mudding, he showed up at the, I delivered food, and the customer also had another DoorDash delivery, and he showed up in his Jeep that he'd been mudding through, and he showed up in a tank top and shorts and, you know, and Crocs, and he had long stringy hair, and I said, "Oh my God, you know, would you know," and it's like, you know, ooh, that's just me personally. It just gave me the hippie jeebies to try to, you know, this guy's carrying your food. When you do DoorDash, think about things like this. You know, you know, a lot of, you know, of course, I don't have a problem. You know, people that have piercings or tattoos. I don't have a problem with that. But if, you know, if people, you know, I've seen videos that have, you know, tattoos in them, but they're dressed nicely. You know, or they wear a hat. You know, they're showing, you know, they're very well presentable. You know, that goes a long way. Like I say, you gotta think of ways to improve your appearance and stuff like that, because in the long run it makes you feel better, and it this is not just a job. And if you think of this, be proactive and all that, it won't be so, drudgery. Oh God, I gotta drive again to, make a few bucks. But like I said, you put in, you get back what you put in. So, all right, getting ready to start the gauntlet of hotspots. So we'll see what happens, and I'll get back to you as soon as I get an order. All right. Well, just picked up an order for Buffalo Wild Wings for about $8, a little over $8, and mileage is about 4 miles. So I took it. This is part of I was on the towards the last hotspot. I told you I'm making the gauntlet run, and just as I was getting close to my normal parking spot, the order came up. So Buffalo Wild Wings, it's decent. My only problem with Buffalo Wild Wings, I don't know if it's in it, but a lot of times when I get there, it takes forever to get an order, especially a DoorDash order. There have been some times where I've, technically after 10 minutes, I think you're allowed to cancel your acceptance of the job and go to pick another after 10 minutes. But since I'm there, but there have been times, personally, just not DoorDashing. I just went go pick up an order, and make the order online. I've been in there 40 minutes trying to get my order. So, anyway, we're here and going inside and pick up the order and see. Hopefully, it won't be so long. All right, see you in a minute. Okay, I'm back. I got the order. Didn't take too long. It was actually ready for me. Once again, telling the customer that I got the order. Nice surprise when I getting ready to walk in the door. Another DoorDasher came out, and I think if you remember from one of my last videos, it's the lady that's the granddaughter is taking care of her grandfather that has dementia. And so, very funny. She asked me how things were going. I says, things have been somewhat slow in some days, and she agreed. Very nice lady. So, all right. Now I take this order. That's what I'm doing. But yeah, she's always been very friendly, asking me how things are going. Kind of, not really trading trade secrets or anything like that, but just asking, how, have you been busy and all that? Just kind of, how things going. I told her it's been some days have been a little slower, because there have been a couple times when I've seen her. She said, "Man, my orders have been very slow," and I was picking up. So like I said, it's a luck of the draw sometimes, and the days you pick up, sometimes you do better, sometimes you don't. And like I said, but it also depends on if you're a higher ranked DoorDasher, you will get the higher paying orders. Because like I mentioned before, when I first started, I was picking up every order that was given to me, and they gave me the crap orders, $4 for 8 miles, so I took it, just to get started and to learn the process, when you get started, you got to learn your routine, how you carry the food and do all that stuff. In a future video, I'll show you exactly what I do in my process. But yeah, it's just try to learn. In fact, one order which during that process that I was learning and all that, in hindsight I would not have taken it. It was, of all things, and DoorDash accepts this, pick up an order from Home Depot. It was clean supplies and some other stuff. I said, "Oh, cool!" And it was like $10. But when I accepted it, I was eager to learn. What I failed to realize, it was a 20 mile distance. I was like, holy crap. So, and I said, man, I don't, hindsight, didn't want to take that order. But like I said, it was something to learn. But DoorDash will also accept orders from Dollar General. In fact, I picked up an order, and it was for $8, but it was 20 miles out. So no, I'm not taking that. So I learned my lesson on that. So, but there are orders that do that. In fact, there have been other places. I picked up an order of all places, a pizza order from a gas station. You've seen those people that have Hunt Brothers Pizza. Well, this was similar. This gas station had a similar brand. I think it was called Roma Pizza. But what I picked up, it looked really good. And so, but I was in the middle of nowhere, picking that up and took it. But that was a strange one. Once again, I just accepted that order without looking, and I was in Rome, and it was a 30-mile trip. That's why I learned my lesson, And I said, why the hell would this person order pizza from a convenience, from a gas station, and you live 30 miles away, and you don't have it? There's any other pizza place, Now, granted, where you live, they didn't probably have, like a Little Caesars. Little Caesars, I do a lot of deliveries from Little Caesars because they don't have delivery drivers. I have picked up a couple pizzas from Papa John's when they don't have drivers available. That's one point where you do DoorDash. Order from Amazon a pizza bag. It's not part of your welcome kit, but you can start accepting pizza deliveries if you prove that you have to take a picture of the bag that you do have a pizza bag. And what happens, they start sending you pizza delivery jobs. Another thing they have a plan is, and I know it's similar to Walmart Shipped or something like that. They have where you can go shopping for somebody, and you do grocery shopping for them, and pick that order up and go. But I decided not to do something because I thought about the Shipped, or there's other names for that type of shopping. But see, you have to spend time to do the shopping, pick up the items, and if they don't have the items, you have to contact. Seems to be a little bit more time involved, and I don't know if the pay is equivalent to me just picking up food and go, that type of thing. Of course, that may change. Of course, in the area that I'm in, that may be as prevalent. But if you're like in the metropolitan area, I can see that as a profitable venture. But so anyway, yeah, definitely get you you have to buy. I bought mine from Amazon. Buy you a pizza bag, a hot bag, and prove to DoorDash that you have a pizza bag, and you'll start getting pizza delivery jobs. So, anyway, approaching my next delivery, and I'll get back with you in a minute. Okay, just made that delivery. It's a rural area, and once again I had to go into all-wheel drive mode because their driveway is a rutted gravel. It's like driving through an obstacle course. But nice little house. But it's just right off the main road here in the county. Nice gentleman. Met me at the car. That's another thing. A lot of times the deliveries will require a PIN number from the customer. So you give me a PIN number. It's just not all of them do that. Not all the orders are like that. Some are hand, but I guess I don't know how that works. But some require a PIN number. But he gave me the correct PIN number, and I gave him the order. Appreciate the business. So I'm heading back. I had to come on the interstate south. Oh, actually, not south, but get you a pizza bag because it increases the amount of orders that you get. So head back into town, and we'll see what the next order is going to be. So we'll see you in a little bit. I'm back. Just got an order. I'm going to accept it. It's $4.71, but 6.5 miles.
Drive
4
west,
line.
then turn right.
But it's one of those, it's kind of a slow evening, and it's to Freddy's. And it looks like it may put me out, take me somewhere that I may be able to pick up some more orders out where his destination. Just see, So I tend to accept almost every order. Also, you're also graded, on your acceptance rate to keep your current level, and it's a somewhat low acceptance rate. It's like 79% of acceptance rate, so you can keep your level. Right now, I'm hovering between 96 and 97. So it's one of those. Yeah, okay, well, I'll take it. Just slowly, make some money. But since Freddy's is right here, like I said, I told you I'm in the parking area where there's a lot of fast food, and I'm picking up orders. 6.5. Now, if it was like 10 miles, I wouldn't do it. But it's just slightly over that, $1 a mile threshold. So give it a try. I've done a lot of this stuff, and they took me out somewhere, and I picked up orders, especially from restaurants along the interstate, to go somewhere else. It became somewhat lucrative. So, it's a roll of the dice. It's a roll of the dice. So here we are at Freddy's, frozen custard and steak burgers, and we'll see how this goes. All right, see you in a little bit. All right, I'm back. I've got the order. Once again, telling the customer I have their order. What's unique about this order, and I learned this the hard way, Freddy's, they have cold, ice cream and stuff like that, and hot stuff, and in their order they don't put the cold stuff with the hot stuff, because the cold stuff will melt. So if you do pick up orders like that, especially like at Wendy's with Frosties or anything like that, I have a hot bag that I put stuff in, and as I mentioned before, I got the towels to hold stuff in. And so when I have an order like this, I put the cold stuff on one side of the bag, and then I put the hot stuff on the other side. So hopefully to keep the cold stuff cold and the hot stuff hot, but they're separated within the bag. So it looks like this is another interstate trip. Stuff like this you learn, and like I said, I made a mistake one time of putting together, and the customer was a little disappointed. But they said they would put it in the freezer to harden up the ice cream. But a lot of times, your trips that you're taking, 10, 12 miles, that's why you got to have a hot bag to keep. It's just a courtesy thing, and also to help. And another tip for DoorDashing, 9 times out of 10 when you're accepting ending the delivery, or showing that you delivered the food, they want you to take a photo of the food and like at the door, so that proves to, similar to like you see in Amazon deliveries, they post a picture of where they drop the package off. Very similar. What I do is I take a picture of the food while it's still in the hot bag. What that does, it proves to the customer that you had the forethought to take care of their food, as best as possible, and to keep it warm as long as possible, because nothing's worse than to get you food and it'd be lukewarm by the time you get it. But at least with this, with the hot bag, showing that you got that you've kept it in a bag that hopefully try to keep it as warm as possible, people appreciate that. In fact, on the app, the app has places where you can see your earnings, how much money you made, during the week and stuff like that. But it also keeps track of your customer ratings, Well, so far I haven't had a physical note, a customer writing a note, hey, you did a great job and all that, or God forbid, he was the worst driver ever. But they do have a lot of, checks that you can quickly check, did the person deliver okay? Did they follow instructions? Several categories. There's like 4 categories, handling food or communication. And I've been steadily getting thumbs up. There's, you get thumbs down or thumbs up on those. So I've been constantly, consistently getting thumbs ups. So that helps. All right, I apologize for that. I'm going to have to, like I said, learn this camera. And the way I've got it set up, it's on the window. It tends to overheat. So I was able to move the arm and adjust it so it's whatever air kind of blows directly onto it to help keep it cooled down. But we'll see how well this works. Actually, the camera's upside down, but it actually automatically corrects the horizon. So anyway, I just delivered at Freddy's to an apartment complex that I've been to many times before. So like I said, I apologize, the camera angle is slightly different, but like I said, this is a learning process, and learn how to work with the equipment that you got, so, and the environment. So it's gonna be interesting during winter months. So can't run the heat on this one, but we will see. So now I'm heading back. Back on the interstate for this one, and we'll see what the next stop's going to be. So we'll see in a little bit.
Turn left.
Well, this is a new one. I've done this before, but the next order is from a Mexican restaurant. And it's
in a quarter mile, Aztecas Mexican.
It's a little over $5, but it's only 3 miles away. So we'll give it a try and see what happens. So I apologize. I'm going to be making some more adjustments to the camera. I've got it so that it's the vent, my air vent, is directly blowing on it. So I'm going to see. Hopefully this will fix the overheating. Problem is, the window and the hotness of the car and all that. It's making it overheat more than usual. So I'm going to go in here and pick up the Mexican food. It's only the second time I've done this from there. It's been a while. Yeah, I know this Mexican very well because it's right next to the Chinese buffet that I like to go to. So, all right, we are here. So, let's give it a try. See you in a little bit. All right, just picked up the order from the Mexican restaurant. Once again, messaging the customer that I have the order. This place is not too far away. Working with this camera and dealing with heat issues, I guess it wouldn't matter what camera, but I think I'll get this figured out. It's a learning curve. I will tell you this, I cannot wait for cooler weather. And there's a Tesla. When I mentioned that Tesla charger station, it's right there. And Tesla just drove by me getting ready. Looks like I'm going a different way here. Come on. Go on. And we're going somewhat of a long way. We're not going on the interstate, so. Alright. Heading to the customer. We'll see you in a little bit. Well, I just made that delivery once again to a house I've been before. In fact, I've handed to the lady that I've met before. I said hello again. I said, I remember, yeah, it's funny. I remember deliveries that have animals, you know, cats and dogs, and you know, we have 2 cats at home, and every time I see them, I like to pet the animals and all that. So that's something in common with some of the people that I meet and all that. And I told her, you know, say hi to the babies. Last time I was here, it was just the elderly lady. Unfortunately, she was in a wheelchair, and so even though it said, you know, to leave at the door, I went. It was a pizza order of all things from Little Caesars. It's strange how I remember that, but it was. I went and helped her open the door and handed to her personally. Stuff like that, you know, helps. But this time it was a younger lady. I assume is the daughter. I remember I told her that I can hear the animals and all that. So yeah, it's pleasant, you know, when you deliver to the same people, you know, over and over again. You kind of, you know, get the nice feelings, and you know that you're helping them and delivering the food on time and as warm as possible. So, well, heading back to the ranch, so to speak, heading back to the area where I hopefully did pick up an order. We'll continue with the show. Alright, see you in a little bit. Alright, finally got an order. I'm sitting in my favorite spot on this side, but got a order from Huddle House, $5 for about 4 miles. So, and you know, things are slow. Lately I've been picking up on quite a few orders from Huddle House, and some were, you know, big orders, you know, $10, $12. But of course, they're going out 10 miles out, so surprisingly the pickup. But Huddle House is just, you know, a mile down the road. One of the hot spots. Things are a little slow today, and it's still getting warm. According to this, outside it's 89, but it feels like 95 inside the car. Especially when when you're parking, I've got the windows rolled down and hoping to get a cross breeze. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. Interested to see where I'm going. But you know, $5 and for a 4-mile trip, not too bad. I always take those. So we'll go from there and see. I'll be back in a minute when I pick up the order. Well, I just picked up order, which is unique. It's just drink orders from Huddle House. Maybe just coffee, but they just was sitting there. No straws, no, of course, it may be coffee, you need straws, but no drink carrier, no nothing. So Wow. And so glad I have a setup so I can support the food in there without hopefully spilling. But yeah, that was different. So anyway, on to the customer. And we'll see you in a minute. All right. Well, that was unique. The person I delivered to only lives 3 houses down from where I live. So this gives me an opportunity to stop by my house and use the bathroom. That's what, that's what's the convenient when you live so close to the supposedly deliver areas. If need be, if I get close to an order or deliver an order next to the house, I just take a minute, go to my house, and do what I need to do and get back on the road. So that's the convenience of it, of living so close. But of course, for a lot of people, that's not possible. But when you're diabetic like me, constantly have to use the bathroom, it sure is convenient. That was it. So when the directions of the the app says go on to this road, I said, oh yeah, that's the road I live on. And of course I've passed this house many times just driving by and all that. It's a nice house. You got a pool in the back and everything. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna make a quick pit stop at my house and get back on the road. And we'll see you in a little bit. Okay, I'm back. Made a little pit stop. As you can tell from my face, it's getting a little warm. I got about an hour and 15 minutes left in my session here. I think I go back to my normal spot. I thought about going back to McDonald's, but according to hotspot, it seems like my normal area is picking up. So yeah, like I said, a little bit lucky about convenience about where my wife and I live, and we just live just outside the city limits. That's in fact just across the street from the road that our address is based on is the city limits. So we're on the other side. So all right, time to head back to my waiting spot. Hopefully pick another order. It is a little slow today. It was slow this morning and it's slow today for lunch. So it's just the nature of the beast, feast or famine. But better than sitting on my butt at home gaining weight. So alright, gonna wait for the other order, and I'll see you in a little bit. Well, I'm back. I'm sitting for a little while in my normal spot, and then decided to move to the north. Sure. Then I got an order pop up from Wingstop for $4 for 2 miles away, so I took it. I said, things are a little slow today. I'm making a U-turn through the Ford dealership. Because just as I got the order, I had just passed the turn lane to go to Wingstop. Yeah, what's unique about Wingstop than most other places is that when you pick up their orders, if there are any drinks, you yourself have to get the drinks. They don't pour the drinks, so you have to actually go walk to the machine and put ice in, get the drinks, and then they give you a little sticker to stick over the drink. That's something unique. So what I try to do to help the customer a little bit, I don't fill up the cup full of ice. I don't know about you, but I like to have a little bit more drink than that. But I only fill the cup halfway for ice, so still go and then fill it with drink. Just to give a customer more bang for his buck on the drink. Some places, and like if you're familiar with the restaurant in the South, Milo's Hamburgers, they have in their drink, they have the good ice, as my wife would say, that soft ice. But they fill up to the brim the ice, and then they pour the drink in. Well, hell, all you got is nothing but ice and a little bit of a drink. So that's why a lot of times when I go to those places, that always fill up ice, and especially the good ice, I tell them, either no ice. If they say you're gonna have ice, well, then only give me half the ice. So, all right, here at Wingstop. Go pick up the order and see you in a little bit. All right, got the order. What was unique about this one is didn't have to do a drink, but did have to wait for it. That's a lot of places, especially Wingstop is bad about this. Buffalo Wild Wings is bad about it. They get the order, and or I get the order, and by the time I get there, a lot of times they haven't even started it, which slows me down. And so anyway, it's only less than a mile away, so we'll see how this goes. So see you in a little bit. Well, that was a pleasant surprise. I've delivered to this business before, and the lady remembered me, and I remembered her, and she explained the last time I brought an order, she was so excited and all that, and then she realized this. She ordered from Wingstop also, and then she wound up ordering the boneless. I always like the wings with the bone in it, because to me, when they cook boneless, they cook it so long, the crust, whatever it is, so crusty. It's like eating a hard chicken nugget. She agreed, and then I explained, every time my wife orders, chicken wings and all that, she only eat half the meat because she leaves half the meat on it, so I wind up eating the rest of it. So yeah, we had a good laugh. So that was nice. So anyway, so just dropped that off, and in fact, I think I'm just gonna turn around here. I'm here by Taco Bell, but I'm gonna head over to McDonald's. Oh, speaking of which, all right, Little Caesars, $6 and 2 miles. Well, I'm going to Little Caesars. Little Caesars is a little different also. It's pizza delivery, but how you pick up their food is you have to make damn sure that they have this little machine. They put the food in back, and the app gives you a code, and you type in the code, and then you get the code. And this machine it's a warming oven basically. So they put the food on one end, keeps the food nice and hot. See, this is the perfect example of why you have the Pizza Hut bag. So you start getting pizza orders. Now, this little order, let's see, what's the items on here? Italian cheese bread and 2 crazy buffs. So it's not really pizza, but still, you'll start picking up orders from Little Caesars, and occasionally some other pizza places when they don't have a driver available. But that was a nice little fun exchange with the last customer. So always nice, when you start meeting people and you become friendly, they know you and you know them, and you share a little story. That's just you get a nice warm feeling. So anyway, heading to Little Caesars. Be back in a minute. I got the order. What makes this one unique, I'm going to the high school. What makes it also bad, sometimes, when you can smell the food, oh God, it makes me hungry. But you have to make sure, all DoorDash and Live food, what it is, everything is sealed. You know, when people start doing delivering food and all that, drivers start eating people's food, you know, and the restaurants have to resort to sealing the food up. That's yeah, it's just, I don't know why do people do that. And then I remember one time I saw, you know, like I was mentioned before, my wife sends me stuff about things that happen with DoorDashers and stuff like that. This person, DoorDasher, went to deliver their food. I think it was in either an apartment complex or almost like a hotel. You know, it's just, you know, you see the hallway. But I think it made it, you know, apartment complex. And you see the lady deliver the food, take a picture, you know, completed delivery, and then picked up the food and took it. And so she had, you know, proof that she delivered it, but then she took the food and delivered it. And the only way she got caught was that person had a door camera. And so she was fired, or her account was deleted, and she can no longer, you know, deliver food. So, you know, this is like strange things, you know. But I've also seen videos of people. I can somewhat understand, you know, their frustration and all that, but you know, you have to take these jobs and all that without expecting the extra tip, and then you're going to have to make a decision on your own whether to take a job or not. This person got upset, you know. I guess it was a big order, but they got paid very little, but they were hoping to get a big tip, and they didn't get no tip at all. And so they came back, and it was all caught on the door camera and all that. And she was cussing up a storm, and you made me drive all the way here in a big order, and you don't give me, you know, tip and all that. So, you know, tips are not guaranteed, and I think that's why DoorDash tries to, you know, add, you know, to the price, you know, trying to put in the price, you know, to make it lucrative or attractive for DoorDashers to pick up an order and deliver. But, you know, the tips are a bonus, but do not rely on tips. So that's why when you look at these jobs or these deliveries, you know, you make decision, you know, to accept the job or not. Now, if you look at some of the YouTube videos where people, you know, telling you how they, you know, you know, the DoorDash has this algorithm and stuff like that, there may be some truth to it, and probably is some truth to it. And a lot of people, you know, if it's a certain, you know, if it's not a certain criteria or a certain amount of mileage and money, they don't take it, even though it may be a big order, but they won't take it because it's not, quote unquote, $1 a mile or more. So my philosophy is, and it's, you know, it's only unique to me because I'm doing this as a retired person, or soon to be retired, that, and I've learned this lesson while I was in high school. I was a sophomore and junior in high school. I was at a high school in Columbus, Georgia. My dad was stationed in Fort Benning, Georgia, and I was a grocery bagger at the military commissary. And back then, you know, it's huge. It was probably one of the largest, you know, commissaries of all the bases, because it's a huge base. And so we had baggers. People would unload the food, put it on the conveyor belt, and you had two baggers in and bagged everything. And we would work for tips to take out the food. We had these huge carts, and then we also had the quick lane. You know, it's just, you know, a handful of things, and you like to get that because you get small orders, but people still get the tips. You know. And this lady told me, says, no matter how big or how small the order, always take it out, because 9 times out of 10 you're still going, you know, we were hoping to get $1 for every time we go out of that. Even if a small bag, you help carry it out, and a lot of times, 9 times out of 10 they give you $1. And so I always take it. So anyway, getting close to the delivery. We'll talk to you in a minute. Okay, I just delivered that to the high school. This is the first time for me to deliver to the high school. I delivered to 3 elementary schools around this area, but it's the first time. And plus it's getting towards the end, and all the traffic's backed up because all the people there picking up their children got most of the roads blocked, so I had to park temporarily in a student parking area. So now heading back, trying to pick up another order. But yeah, the lady I met, very nice. I assume a teacher or teacher's aide, and she told me that she knew about, I was having problems. If you the only major problem with the app is that if you try to deliver outside what they call the delivery zone, the area that you're supposed to deliver, the app won't work very well. So I went in and gave her the food, and then I had to use a help procedure. Say, hey, app wouldn't let me, and then continue. And there's always a warning. If the customer complains that they never got the food, it could be a warning violation on yours. But happens all the time. So, but talking to her, she, said, oh, I do DoorDash also. Oh, really? I assume, on weekends or in the evenings. I kind of, out of curiosity, said, well, what kind of car do you drive? I'm always curious about what people drive. She says she drives a Chevrolet Spark. That's the first time I ever heard of it, but she said she gets very good gas mileage. And so you're door dashing, that's the key. Get you a very good, like I said before, get you a car, that's in good condition mechanically, because you don't want to buy a lemon or buy a car that breaks down all the time, but buy a car that gives you very good gas mileage. So anyhow, yeah, like I said, I got this RAV4. In fact, I'm about to approach. I've already been about almost 2 months. I almost put 5,000 miles on this, so it's going to be time for me to go back and get the oil change. And that's another thing, always do regular maintenance on your car. Every 5,000 miles at most. You hear the things lately about, oh, you can change the oil every 10,000 miles. Well, that's the companies telling you, so the car breaks down and you have to buy another car, or you spend money on repairs. I saw this YouTube video, the certain things that you need to do every time to keep your car running for 300, 400, 500,000 miles. And I watched that video and I wrote that down. I kept it as notes, So like every 5,000 miles, get you your oil change at the same time. Oil change and oil filter, that should always be part of it. But one of the things is that when you get the oil change, have them check your tires for balance. And every 10,000 miles, in fact, I'm getting ready for 10,000 miles, have them rotate, so that you get even wear on your tires. It's just normal stuff, but stuff like this you don't realize. One of the things, I haven't done any. I'm guilty of not doing it, especially with our older cars I've got. Get the transmission fluid changed out. But by saying, if you haven't done it at all, don't do it, because whatever metal shaves and all that is now coated your parts, and then if you were to change it out, it just make things worse. So if you haven't done it in the appropriate time, don't do it. That's what that's from a Toyota mechanic that he has a YouTube video. So anyhow, it's getting close to it. I got 15 more minutes. I'm going to try to go back to my location. Hopefully pick up one more order. If not, I'll be in a position to end my day. Like I said, it's been this has been not so good, not bad, not too bad. I've had worse, but I've had a lot better. So anyway, heading back to my waiting area, and we'll see what happens. And if not, I'll be back with an order. If not, I'll be back with the end of the day totals and see how well I just before my my session is ending, I just picked up an order from Chick-fil-A, and it's about a little over $13, but it's a catering job. So I've done this once before, so I've never done it from Chick-fil-A. So we're gonna go see how this works out. And never done a catering job with Chick-fil-A. I've done it once with Freddy's. I helped deliver. I had several pans of food and stuff like that. I have in the back of my RAV4, I have 2 tubs that normally I use. When my wife and I would go grocery shopping, we put the bags in it. But I keep those in there, so if we're doing stuff like this, in case we do catering, I could put all the catering food in the tub, and all I have to do is just carry the tub. So yeah, so this is unique, because usually Chick-fil-A has their own catering team to deliver, but of course they may be all out, doing their stuff. So this is going to be a little different. And right before, so yeah, last one big order at the end. Well, kind of definitely will help my day, because today's been pretty sad. Again, not the worst. Like I said, I'm doing this for supplemental income. Some of my best weeks I've had, I made over 400 a week. But if I make over 300 or at least 350 a week, I'll be happy. Because in 2 weeks I have enough money to make my car payment, and then I have enough money left over for other things that I want to help buy or pay down bills. So anyway, heading towards Chick-fil-A, and I'm going to learn something new, how to do a catering job from Chick-fil-A. So I'll let you know how it turns out. Well, I've got the order. I took in one of the tubs. Sure enough, it's big. 2 big bags. I'm glad I got the tub in there, because it's easier to carry things. So normally somebody would just carry the bags out, but I'm always afraid of dropping the order and busting, and that's why have the box, the hot bag. And for the bigger stuff, I got the tubs. So it's easier just to carry the food in there, and so there's no instance of dropping the food and all that, and it's just safer, and I think the customers appreciate that. All right, so told the customer I'm on my way. Must be some kind of business or hospital or something like that, or apartment. I'm supposed to meet at a lobby, so hopefully we'll get there. This is a first for me. And like I said, normally Chick-fil-A has their own catering service or catering delivery. And like I said, I see 4 delivery cars there. They may not have the employees here to do the delivery. So it's up to me to deliver the Chick-fil-A catering. So it's an important mission. All right, so I am on my way, and we'll see you in a little bit. Okay, just made that delivery. Actually delivered to a veterinarian's office. The employees there were having either early dinner or late lunch. That was unique. That was actually pretty easy. Just using the tub though helped a lot, because there were 2 huge bags, and with the tub carrying both of the bags in the tub, I don't lessen the chance of dropping the food or the bag open up and stuff like that. So all right, so that is the end of the day for me. When I get back home, I will give a summary total of what I did today, and go over a little bit over the day. So see you in a little bit. Well, I'm back home, ended my shift days. So that last order went beyond my end time, but that's fine, because I got good payout. And so I do a summary, see how well I did today. Let's see here. Well, for today, not too bad. I'm quite pleased. You know, I made $94.51. I did $25.20 in the morning, and that last order, that catering Chick-fil-A, they gave me $13. I made $69.31 in the lunch crowd. So total time, at least for today, you know, at least I know because today is 7 hours, but not too bad. You know, I've had a lot of worse, but yeah, really off to a good start. So yeah, that's the summary of the day. If you enjoyed this type of stuff, you know, I encourage you to like the video and also to subscribe to my channel and hit the little bell symbol on there that you see to be notified when I post another video. Well, so far I'm going to put together the clips that I made here and put in video, see how long, but I may do this, you know, one video for each day. I may not be able to post them every day, but when I do post them, I'll post them one day. You know, I would do 3 days to put all 3 videos up. So I hope you enjoyed. Like I say, if you consider DoorDashing, you know, hopefully you take my advice, you know, to heart. But don't rely just on me. Do your research and look at everybody. Read online. Look at the DoorDash website. You can get insights on them. So anyway, I appreciate you coming with me on this journey for today, and we'll see you next time. All right, talk to you later. Bye.